Okay, we'll be safe in here to finish the tier list, and then the Reapers will be dealt with for good.
Donald, how do you know the Reapers are going to be dealt with?
All things will be explained in good time now. Before we hit up the final missions, I believe we have some DLC to cover.
Indeed, Donald, let's begin with the Omega DLC. Aria T'Loak calls on us to help her retake Omega, which she lost to Cerberus between Mass Effect 2 and 3. We join Aria's fleet, and our plan is to sneak in among the Cerberus fleet using a ship Aria stole.
Once we get into position, we open fire and start our space battle with the Cerberus forces. General Petrovsky calls in wanting to talk.
The General is a new character, apparently, the elusive man's right-hand man. Aria tells us he's the kind of guy who promises that those who fall in line won't be hurt, and he actually makes good on it. He even allowed Aria to escape during the initial attack.
Something he'll regret once we get to him.
We launch what can only be described as a second suicide mission. Aria plans to ram the station to take out the kinetic barrier.
Seems a bit risky. Imagine Shepard goes on this mission alone, and then the next thing anyone hears is they died trying to retake Omega.
I'm sure the Reapers would have loved that.
We make an emergency evacuation out of the exploding ship, and this is giving off serious Mass Effect 2 vibes. Thankfully, Shepard actually makes it out this time.
And now that we're on the ground, Aria does the unexpected and relinquishes command to Shepard. This is obviously for gameplay purposes, but the narrative reason is that Aria did hire you for this specific purpose. Even Aria admits that Shepard is the GOAT when it comes to combat, even calling Shepard Commander.
For better or worse, the Omega DLC throws us tons of skirmishes along the way to all of our objectives. This is a major space war, so it makes sense, but it does tend to drag on after a point. Once we take out the station defenses, we plan to head to Aria's meeting spot. Petrovsky hears it through the security cameras and starts moving chess pieces on some all according to the Keikaku type shit.
And we do some more walking and fighting as we head to the rendezvous, coming across some strange force fields and some gang tags that belong to a group called the Talons.
And when we come across the force field, we get some Kentucky Fried Vorcha, but I think they overcooked it.
We will then be introduced to a new type of foe called Rampart Mechs. Unlike the drones from Mass Effect 2, these guys are quick, tough, and have strong melee attacks.
We take a detour and we meet a new character, Nyreen Kandros.
We don't learn a lot about Nyreen here, but we'll get to it later. We meet up with Aria's ground team and help them out by activating the cannon controls, and we watch the Cerberus forces get blown into Swiss cheese.
Someone at BioWare said they wanted some over-the-top violence, and I'm here for it. After what the Cerberus turrets have been doing to us all damn game, I'd say it's time they taste their own medicine.
At long last, we get a bit of a break. Speaking with Aria and Nyreen, we see that the two of them have a bit of history, and we get to some role play here. Shepard's dialogue with Aria can impact her final decision at the end of the mission. We'll dive into it later, but you can have Aria ease up and become a nicer person or indulge in her regular ways.
In this hub area, you can pick up some side objectives like looking for Aria's old couch, assisting a mechanic, and helping a hacker. Once you've set all that up, speak to Aria to continue the mission.
Aria's awful invasion plan cost a lot more people than she expected, so now we need to link up with the Talons to get new allies. Also, Nyreen snuck off, so it's back to the party of two for now.
I gotta say, a character like Aria is better in small portions. Centering an entire mission around such a one-note character did not shape out so well.
Made worse by us being constantly left alone with her.
There's something wrong with the both of you. Being left alone with Aria is all I could ever hope for.
I'm pretty sure Donald would be satisfied being left alone with anything that moved and had a pulse.
We get a little call back to Mass Effect 2. As you know, Shepard's crew and Garrus wiped out the Eclipse, Bloodpack, and Blue Suns on Omega, creating a power vacuum that allowed for the Talons to rise up.
Cerberus is looking to beat us there, so we need to fight them while helping some Talon members along the way.
Eventually, we will find the Talons and find that Nyreen is their current leader. Surprise, surprise. Anyway, Nyreen rejoins us and we head to their outpost.
Aria shows us what a real leader does and inspires the people to rise up against their false leader of Omega. We'll walk down through the space station and fight like hell in order to make Omega great again.
Aria's plan is to send civilians to Cerberus, and normally that would be awful, but it would do us well to remember that basically everyone on Omega is a criminal in some capacity. This is why Nyreen's preaching kind of falls upon deaf ears. We know what this place is and what it's about.
We get the Talons to join up with us and we head back to Aria's command center. Nyreen meets up once again, and this is our chance to learn more about her.
Nyreen's position on the matter is that she's not going to stop Aria from seeking revenge, but she wants to make sure the people of Omega aren't caught in the crossfire of this war.
And apparently Nyreen and Aria had a bit of a liaison with each other. I wonder if there are any vids.
Jesus fucking Christ, Donald.
Are you telling me you're not even a little curious about what that must have looked like?
Actually, I'm with Donald. Nyreen is extremely underrated, and now I see why women love Garrus.
Get some help, the both of you. We're moving on. We head to Omega's mines and find some Cerberus agents that have been eviscerated. As we move, we hear shrieks, and once we turn the power back on, an adjutant shows up.
They're kind of just a less interesting version of banshees, to be honest. As we wait for the elevator, we have to fight a wave of adjutants, and it's nowhere near as hard as it would have been if these were banshees.
We start pushing through the mines, encountering, you guessed it, more Cerberus agents and mechs. Petrovsky traps us, and Arya pulls off a crazy stunt where she forces the barrier open with her biotics, making enough room for Shepard to get free.
You got to give Arya points for that one. She had no idea that was going to work, but just threw up a prayer.
Now Shepard makes a push towards the reactor to shut down the shields, and we're met with a tough situation. If Shepard shuts the reactor down, life support systems will go with it. Arya doesn't care, though, and tells you to do it.
You can also try to reroute power upon Nyreen's request.
In a rare moment, Shepard's class comes into play here. If you're an engineer, you'll be able to easily reroute power and get to skip all the extra dialogue.
However, this choice has no real ramifications. If you reroute power, both Nyreen and Arya will be fine, despite Petrovsky's taunting and Arya telling you that you can't do it in time. Likewise, Nyreen's opinion of you for shutting down the reactor doesn't really matter by the end of the mission.
Ultimately, this decision really only impacts Arya's morality. Still, it's pretty pointless.
Once again, Nyreen separates from us, and we move to disable some bombs. This fight is pretty tough since Shepard has to do it alone, but we got it and head to the Talon checkpoint. Nyreen has carried on ahead of us to Afterlife, where we find some civilians fighting Cerberus.
But the adjutants enter the fray, and in what can only be considered a very contrived death, Nyreen traps them in a biotic bubble and blows them up with some grenades, taking herself out as well.
Am I supposed to feel something here?
I mean, I guess. Nyreen was the paragon to Arya's renegade, but their dynamic is barely explored. Even when Arya gets pissed off, I still ultimately felt nothing for Nyreen's demise.
I'll admit, as cool as this is, Arya comes off as a complete idiot here, charging in and letting herself get captured.
Shepard's better than me. I don't even like Arya like that. I would have told Petrovsky he got it and left. I have a Reaper war to win.
That, unfortunately, isn't an option. So once we disable the stasis generator and free Arya, we finally finish this fight once and for all, and have Petrovsky at our mercy.
If you've been letting Arya do as she pleases, she'll just choke the guy out and there's nothing you can do. And I gotta say, I wish that were...
Do not say you wish that were you.
Arya is menacing here. The way she talks to Petrovsky and seemingly fries him with the Asari bonding process was haunting. Plus, she'll give you a bit of a smooch if you don't interfere with her revenge.
All I needed to hear.
You can stop Arya with some Paragon interrupts claiming Petrovsky holds valuable information, which will piss her off quite a bit. No smooch, and in fact, Arya states outright that she hates you.
Why does that make me want her more?
In the Paragon outcome, Arya chooses to let Petrovsky live on her own for the sake of Shepard and the war against Cerberus.
Of course, you have some more options. You can let Bray take the general away, where he will go to an Alliance prison, but provide some war assets, since he gives us information on Cerberus.
But that's boring. You can instead choose to fake everyone out with 2 renegade interrupts. You'll shoot Oleg dead yourself. All that Paragon behavior just so you can off him yourself? Now that's a good bait and switch.
The mission ends with Arya retaking Omega, her speech reflecting her new or strengthened morality, and we get a boatload of war assets for our troubles.
This DLC mission is, how do I put this, kind of good, right?
Yeah, kind of good is the correct way to describe it.
It's got some problems. First of all, it's like an hour too long. It might be odd to say, but the Omega DLC overstays its welcome with barely a moment's pause in between the action. Plus, it's like 90% your standard Cerberus troops. The combat gets really repetitive real quick. And the Rampart mechs and adjutants don't really save this either.
This made it abundantly clear that Arya is better off being a side character. She's like a way less interesting and entertaining version of Jack.
And it's not like Nyreen is offensive or anything. She's just kind of there until she isn't anymore.
I say we give the Omega DLC a C tier. I can't say I hate it, but I'm very far from saying I love it. A strong case for the worst DLC mission in 3. But we have a better DLC mission coming up here.
Next is the Leviathan DLC, which starts us on the Citadel, aiming to help Dr. Bryson on a classified project to learn more about the Reapers from rumors and old legends. However, before Bryson can fill us in, he's shot dead by his assistant.
We can never go more than 5 minutes without someone dying anyway. Edie will show up and we'll start interrogating the guy who claims to not remember anything.
Edie points out this is similar to indoctrination. And right on cue, the assistant starts rambling about some turn back, and the darkness must not be breached.
After he passes out, we watch a recording of a conversation between Bryson and Admiral Hackett. He's been following leads on a Leviathan of Dis, which is a dead Reaper that the Batarians stumbled upon, but the real question is, what killed that Reaper?
Now our task is locating a man named Garno, who is tracking Leviathan. After going through some clues in Bryson's lab, we head out to a mining facility on an asteroid, but the Reapers beat us there.
We clear the Reapers and head inside, but these people are a bit off.
They speak slower than Joe does when he skipped his daily amount of adrenochrome.
BioWare back on that creepy energy. As you walk around trying to get through the facility, the people here will just stop whatever they're doing and just watch you. If you speak to them, they'll simply say you shouldn't be here. Eventually, you'll find a man in the medical bay claiming to be Garno. But like everything here, something doesn't seem right.
And then bam, bro just starts tweaking. Talking about some leave the artifact, sounding like the dude from Courage the Cowardly Dog, return the slab.
Turns out the thing we're talking to is the Reaper Killer, who takes off running in Garno's body.
The Reapers are in hot pursuit as well, but before we can continue, we'll need to escort a damaged drone to repair the door. This part is pretty annoying just because it limits your movement, but thankfully it's short. With the door open when we find Garno, he'll perform the least dangerous gender reveal.
However, that wasn't Garno. The real guy is over here. Long dead, it seems. With the artifact gone, all of the people here are freed from the control of the Leviathan.
We get a bit of a shock here. These people don't know what the Reapers are, and then you realize they've been here for 10 years, under the control of the Leviathan.
Hell of a wake-up call. Imagine you go to work one day, then randomly wake up 10 years later just to find out the galaxy is at war with a species of hyper-advanced versions of Clippy.
Now, with the information we found on Ann Bryson, we search for clues to her location and head out to go meet with her. Of course, things are never so simple, and the Reapers have beaten us to the punch.
Big fan of the environment here. This place is a disaster, and countless amounts of Reaper forces are swarming all over the place.
Ann is the sole survivor here, and we need to keep it that way. In one final battle, we hold the line until Cortez comes back for us and we escape the dig site.
We fill Anne in on the death of her father, and she's understandably distraught. Someone show this scene to the team that did Andromeda so they can see how to display someone's grief.
Trust Joe on this one. The mourner-in-chief over here sure knows how to use his dead family to score political points.
Heading back to Bryson's lab one last time, we use the artifact and Anne's connection to it to track down Leviathan. James will show up to help us, but be wary if you let Anne stay connected too long. She'll go into a comatose state, and you won't get war assets from her.
Once we arrive on the planet, a pulse of energy downs our shuttle, and we're marooned on an old vessel. It doesn't take long for the Reapers to come after us. The energy pulse keeps downing the shuttle, so we'll need to use a diving mech to go down into the ocean to meet Leviathan.
Once we recharge the mech, we get into it and take a bit of a dip into the ocean.
You call that a dip? I'm not trying to end up like those billionaires that went to see the Titanic. A brother isn't meant to be in the ocean.
We finally reach the bottom and meet the Leviathan, who clearly isn't too happy with us entering their domain.
The Leviathan tells us that they predate the Reapers. Not only that, the only reason Shepard isn't being mind-crushed right now is that Leviathan acknowledges them as an anomaly and wants to find out why the Reapers see us as a threat.
As the story goes, the Leviathan were basically the gods of their cycle. The lesser species worshiped them, and in return, the Leviathans provided for them. However, the lesser species always destroyed themselves by creating artificial intelligence, which would inevitably wipe them all out. Tribute doesn't come from a dead race, so the Leviathan sought a solution by repeating the same fucking mistake.
This is all the vindication I needed. AI is bad. The Geth are not trustworthy, and even Edie is suspect now.
The intelligence the Leviathans created made the Reapers preserve life no matter what, starting with its creators turning them into Harbinger, the first Reaper.
This Leviathan is a descendant of the few that survived the first Reaper invasion. They watch the galaxy through their fragments, which is how they know everything. They surmise that Shepard may be different. It still isn't enough. They won't join the war, and they plan to keep Shepard as their slave.
Thankfully, Shepard has a PhD in changing people's minds. With a short pep talk, the Leviathan will resolve to fight in the war, calling on two more to rise up from the sea.
Shepard could give Naruto a run for his money in gaslighting people with talk no jutsu.
Now Shepard rushes back up to the surface, and the Leviathan takes control of the Reaper forces to buy us time. They also shut down a Reaper, showing us just how powerful they are.
The Leviathan DLC presents us with lore on the origins of the Reapers, the first Milky Way cycle. It kind of gets old going back and forth between Bryson's lab, but thankfully this mission is short enough that it doesn't drag like the Omega DLC.
I don't know, me personally, I liked it more when the Reapers were shrouded in total mystery. Knowing that they're just machines like anything else kind of makes them feel less impressive.
This is still a great DLC with a good atmosphere, combat, and narrative.
Agreed, but it's not that outstanding, so how about a B tier?
I'd give it a C tier, but it is a good deal better than Omega, so B sounds good.
And now we're on a fan favorite here, it's the Citadel DLC, and disclaimer here, we're only counting the actual mission and not any of the hangouts or the party that occur after it.
Shepard and crew are taking some shore leave on the Citadel while the Normandy is going through some retrofits. Admiral Anderson grants his apartment, and we use this time to finally unwind from the stresses of the Reaper War.
We get an email from Joker inviting us to a fancy sushi place in the wards. When we arrive, we finally get the respect our status as Commander Shepard deserves, bypassing the queue and going straight into the restaurant.
You can tell how over the top this whole fiesta is going to be when you hear this French guy's accent, if you can call it one.
Of course, our vacation doesn't last. A woman called Maya Brooks approaches us and lets us know people are trying to kill us, which, like, no shit.
This is a new group, though, and they've been hacking Shepard's accounts and communications, and right after that, a bunch of dudes enter the establishment and start shooting up the place. So much for shore leave, I guess.
Oh, hell yeah, just your average Wednesday in the United States. Great food and guns galore.
We hilariously use Joker as bait to gank one of the mercs and take their gun. Shepard rushes over to save Brooks. Then the mercs shoot through the glass and we take a dive.
Shepard has taken a lot of punishment over the years, but for some reason this fall looks the worst.
We carry along on our own and we get the best pistol in the game too, the M11 suppressor. Don't let its size fool you, this gun is a beast.
You know your firearms, Barack. The M11 is up there for the best overall gun in the trilogy.
We make our way to the Skycar lot, fighting through mercenaries all on our own. No armor either. Shepard showing that they don't need their gear to kick some ass. Eventually you'll meet up with your love interest or Liara, if you're romancing someone who isn't a squad mate in Mass Effect 3.
Kind of weird that Liara flirts with you regardless of your relationship status.
Liara can flirt with me anytime.
Anyway, we make it to the extraction point, and when we arrive, some more mercenaries start unloading a comedic amount of gunfire on us.
I respect it. They're here to kill Shepard, and they're going to make damn well sure they do it. Or they would until big old Uncle Erdnot Rex comes down with the absolutely diabolical People's Elbow. Rex then goes on to solo the shuttle full of mercs. Sitting on his throne as Krogan leader hasn't softened our boy up. He's still got it.
Definitely a love letter to Mass Effect 1 fans and those of us who missed having a Krogan squad mate. Rex rejoins us for the duration of this mission, and he's an absolute menace. After the fight, we meet up at the apartment and the squad figures out what to do next. The rest of the team shows up, and you can speak to everyone for more dialogue. Most of it is everyone roasting Shepard for falling through a fish tank like 20 minutes after starting shore leave.
Our beloved shadow broker finds a lead using the gun Shepard picked up, and our next move is to investigate a casino to find Elijah Khan, the person who sold the gun to the mercs.
We're going in with a small team here, no guns either. Maya Brooks is mandatory, and Edie can't come because she's a mech. So feel free to pick Shepard's date for the party.
Now we must mingle in the crowd while Maya completes her tasks. We'll need to help her out by distracting guards and disabling cameras. You'll also run into a familiar face here if you walk around enough. Asari consort Sha'ira will be here, and her premonition this time is just that you need to win.
Once we get our way through the club, we find Khan, and he's already dead. At least it wasn't our fault.
While we're still investigating, a call from another individual comes up. The person on the other end taunts us and claims they're going to take everything from us. But I don't even know you, bro.
We head back to the apartment to have Edie track down our foe. You get some more dialogue from the squad, and we'll all meet back up to plan our next steps. There's a lot of great banter in this scene, such as everyone implying Rex has gained weight and saying there's just more of him to love because of it.
After figuring out where we need to go, we decide it's all hands on deck for this mission. Shepard will take 2 squad mates as usual, while everyone else travels in 2 teams.
I really wish they did this more often in the main game, because even if it's only for show, it's pretty great hearing all the banter.
The Cat 6 mercs comment on a lot of your squad mates, recognizing Garrus as Archangel and being afraid of Rex.
Eventually, Brooks gets captured and our opponent reveals themselves. It's a goddamn clone.
In any other circumstance, I would roll my eyes, but this whole thing is obviously a joke, so it's good.
The clone was created by Cerberus in case Shepard needed extra organs. They have a simple goal: They want to take Shepard's life.
The clone leaves us to be executed, and they demonstrate why they'll never be the real deal, because the real Shepard would have killed us themselves.
We rush off through the Citadel archives, coming across historic items like a gun from the First Contact War. We meet up with the rest of the squad, and they just rain hell down on the mercenaries. A bit overkill, everyone unloading like that.
If you're gonna kill something, you may as well kill it dead.
In these archives, we come across some logs of historic events, such as a human that was captured in Shang-Chi. However, the most relevant one is a log where it reveals that the Council believed the Reaper threat this entire time.
Yeah, that's bullshit. BioWare can try to retcon it if they want, but the Council damn well did everything in their power to make things hard for Shepard if they really believed it.
Eventually, we'll get a call from Brooks. She claims she is injured and needs help, but it's a trap. Maya Brooks is actually working for the clone. She's a former member of Cerberus. In fact, she's the one who formed the dossiers on the crew.
I will mount her head in the CIC of the Normandy, and then space it out the Normandy airlock.
I'm sure Javik will enjoy that.
The clone changes our fingerprints and says I should go, and locks us in the time capsules for all eternity. But they didn't count on Glyph showing up to save us. Once again, the clone fails to be Shepard, because if that were me, I would have just gotten it done right there.
Once we get out, we have one final push to stop the Normandy from being stolen by our clone. If you brought Edie with you, you'll see her glitch out as the clone locks her out of the ship. How the hell did they even do that? Edie is the Normandy.
We get locked out of the Normandy, but thankfully Samantha's toothbrush can get us inside.
To think the fate of the galaxy hinged on a damn toothbrush.
Now we get into a sick fight aboard the Normandy, taking out the clone's cannon fodder.
I won't forgive the clone for throwing our pet space hamster in the trash. How dare they? Now this is personal.
We head down into the armory and engage in a boss fight with the clone. This is a unique boss fight because, as you might expect, the clone mirrors our class. This can create an insane fight if you happen to be a vanguard. Plus, the clone has access to Medigel just like us, allowing them to heal mid-fight.
Honestly, this should have been the template for all the boss fights. We praised fights against Saren, Televasser, and the Shadow Broker before, but in reality, this fight blows them out of the water. I hope Mass Effect 4 can recapture this kind of combat in the main game.
In the final moments, Shepard and the clone go rolling to the edge of the ship, but thankfully our team has our back. Brooks, on the other hand, wouldn't even show up to help the clone. And just like that, Brooks cemented herself as a worse-than-Jacob character.
You can either try to help the clone or kick them off. Either way, they fall to their death.
You know, that must have been scary for anyone else on the ground. Commander Shepard, savior of the Citadel, just falls and turns into a paste on the sidewalk.
We'll arrest Brooks and she'll taunt us and try to escape. You can Paragon react and tell her she's dangerously close to losing her life, at which point she'll give up and go to jail. Or you can renegade and either shoot her in the back or have one of your squad do it when she runs.
We've recaptured Normandy and head back to meet up with the others, finally ready to enjoy our shore leave.
Well, it's no secret that this is an S+ tier mission, right?
Nah, hold up. I already know Barry's about to say something out of pocket again.
You know me too well, Joe.
Oh God, here we go. What hot take do you have now, Barack?
It's not really a hot take. The Citadel DLC is a beloved mission. It has a little bit of everything for everyone, but that's because it was designed as a fan service love letter to the players. If you actually think about the mission, it is a bit silly. I mean, Shepard is doing all this clown shit while humans are being harvested on Earth.
That is true. The premise of the Citadel DLC kind of messes with the narrative stakes of Mass Effect 3. Shepard is watching a cheesy romance vid with Tali, or dancing with Garrus while Anderson is on Earth dodging Reaper lasers.
So what are we going to do with it?
I don't believe it would be fair to say the Citadel DLC mission is better than something like Vermeer, or on the same tier as Tuchanka, but it is undoubtedly a widely appealing and enjoyable mission. As such, we'll put it in its own tier called Fan Service. The mission can't be seriously judged head-to-head with all of the others, since it is very deliberately designed to be as unserious as possible.
You know what? That's fair. We respect the Citadel DLC mission, but it is ultimately its own thing.
Now we're finally onto the true endgame. We're at Priority Cerberus headquarters. Using the tracker Miranda placed on Lang, we finally tracked down the Elusive Man's base of operations to recover the Prothean VI.
Edie joins us as a mandatory squad mate on this mission, and thank goodness for that, because without her, we would have been vented from the hangar bay.
We continue into a sub-level filled with Cerberus agents. Once we make it out, we'll come across a terminal that details Project Lazarus, Shepard's revival.
This was a good thing to include here for a couple of reasons. First, we learned just how bad Shepard's condition was. And second, We actually get to see Shepard come to terms with the fact that they were legitimately dead at one point. In Mass Effect 2, Shepard kind of just accepts that they died and came back like it was nothing. It's also nice that your other squad mate will have your back if Shepard is overwhelmed.
Moving on through the wreckage, we have more fights with Cerberus troops, and those damn turrets are there already set up to f*** us.
On the bright side, once we take care of Cerberus here, we'll never have to see those turrets again.
We've got another terminal here. This time it is the construction of EDI's AI. You can learn about this in Mass Effect 2, but it's also revealed here that the Luna VI that we fight on the moon in Mass Effect 1 was originally EDI.
We also learned that when we stole the Normandy, the elusive man apparently tried to get it back with remote controls. In retaliation, EDI flooded Cerberus servers with 7 zettabytes of homework, I'll call it.
Rookie numbers, 7 zettabytes is only one of my many files.
Yeah, I know. You left all of it on the White House's laptop. The kind of stuff you be watching, Donald?
The only stuff that does anything for me these days.
Seek God, Donald. We also see some recordings of Kai Lang. Nothing much here. Kai Lang is a bitch, and we apparently live rent-free in his head.
Up ahead, we'll run into an old friend, the human Proto-Reaper from Mass Effect 2. Apparently blowing it up didn't matter. Cerberus still recovered enough of it to utilize its technology.
One thing of note in this area, if you missed the Grissom Academy mission, you'll find recordings of Jack being indoctrinated, and you'll eventually have to fight her as she's turned into a tool for Cerberus.
Why did Cerberus nerf Jack by turning her into a phantom?
You'll also find Legion here. If you sold him to Cerberus in Mass Effect 2, he'll be a Legion assassin.
Once we make it to the end, we'll get one final terminal detailing how Cerberus enhanced their troops with Reaper implants, and how the elusive man inevitably implants himself just like Saren.
In the final room, we enter the iconic room the elusive man sits in. We even get in his chair, which he takes offense to, it seems.
EAD will pull up Vendetta, who will reveal everything to us. The catalyst is, surprisingly enough, the Citadel. The Citadel was made by the Reapers, so that might not make sense. So it's theorized by Vendetta that somewhere along the line, the plans were altered to include the catalyst and the entire relay network.
Bad news, though, the elusive man has informed the Reapers of what the deal is, and as if things couldn't get worse. The Reapers have already taken the Citadel and taken it to Earth.
But hold up, guess who's here to finally catch this permanent L?
Kai Lang, nowhere left to run and no helicopter to save him.
What's up, Lang? You were popping all that good shit a second ago, then you got shot in your chest.
Bro really went through knee surgery after Anderson crippled him and came back just to get faded again.
Kai Lang always wanted a worthy opponent, but the second someone actually checks him, he starts crumbling like Perfect Cell after Gohan went Super Saiyan 2.
Kai Lang, the type of motherfucker to run his mouth knowing damn well his hands can't match up.
Kai Lang is so dog shit that players of Mass Effect would rather mod him out of the game and replace him with a faceless, nameless, and voiceless NPC opponent, and it unironically makes for a far better antagonist. The modders did all of it for free.
Kai Lang is so lame and boring that he gets a rush of adrenaline from eating some of Anderson's cereal and pissing in one of his plants.
Kai Lang legitimately feels like a self-insert character of some 15-year-old who listens to Monster by Skillet on repeat because they had a bad day at school.
After you clap Kai Lang's cheeks, pause, you get back to going through the data. But Kai Lang just doesn't know when to stay down. So he slowly approaches, and Shepard just turns around and shatters that stupid samurai sword and just eviscerates Lang's insides.
Bro is like, oh no, my Kool-Aid.
Lang must have gotten that weak-ass sword from Dollar General. Why in the hell does he even use a sword when Omni tools come equipped with a blade? He's really just committed to being a weeaboo in space.
In the end, Kai Lang showed us he's nothing more than the L in his last name, a disgraceful character that can't even be considered an antagonist.
Shepard will also yell out, "This is for some variation of Thane and or Miranda if Kai Lang ends up killing either of them." They even shout out Kyrie if he took Thane's place on the Citadel. At long last, this absolute clown show of a character is finally dead.
Vendetta will tell us the Reapers are beginning their harvest, but we're not giving up. With the rest of the map locked off, we only have one option left, to rally the fleets to Earth to try to defeat the Reapers once and for all.
Priority Cerberus headquarters is the end of Cerberus, the end of Kai Lang, and our last stop before the end of this game.
It's a good mission. We get a lot of supplemental information on topics like Shepard's revival, EDI, and the elusive man's goals.
Overall, I think we should give Cerberus headquarters A tier and head off to the end once and for all. It's time for Priority Earth.
And here's the deal with Priority Earth. We already have a 12-minute video going over the endings, and we won't be rehashing the same information here, Let's focus on the actual structure of the mission until Shepard makes their final choice.
Good deal. You head straight to the Sol system and summon our allied fleets to the battle. Before things get started, Admiral Hackett will board the Normandy and deliver an epic speech, one that gives Shepard's speeches a run for their money.
The Reapers have closed the Citadel arms, forcing us to make our way to a transport beam so we can open them, allowing the Crucible to dock.
Before we actually get to Earth, we get what is possibly the best cutscene of the trilogy. An all-out space war between our forces and the Reapers.
It's a bit unfortunate this scene doesn't include all of your forces reporting in like in Star Wars. It would have been sick to hear all your war assets calling in. Instead, you'll mostly hear Joker summarizing everyone who has arrived, with only the Quarians chiming in if they survive the war at Rannoch.
Still, this space battle is sick. All the ships blasting through the relay, and then the dogfights begin when Shepard commands, "Now I understand why all those nerds got so horny over A New Hope."
Of course, this is all for show. Our real fight will be on the ground. The Normandy will break off so Shepard and their squad can get things started. Our first goal is to take out a Hades cannon that is preventing Hammer Squad from landing.
That damn gun is really annoying for this part of the mission. I can handle the noise and the bright light, but holy hell, the entire screen shakes every 5 seconds.
We're faced with the standard Reaper troops and some brutes. As you push past them, you'll eventually see our shuttle pilot, Steve Cortez, take a hit. If you helped him get through his depression, he'll live. Otherwise, he'll die. Potentially your first loss, and you haven't even gotten past the first checkpoint.
Forget Cortez, though. We get to take out another Reaper, and this time we do it with the good old M920 Kane, which makes a great return.
After which, we'll wait for extraction and finally reunite with Anderson. Meeting Major Coates, who you may recall from the initial Mass Effect 3 trailer all those years ago.
We head to the forward operations base for a break in the action, and this is a very vital location. It's here we'll get to engage in our final goodbyes to our squad mates. Not just the ones with us, but the crew from Mass Effect 2.
James will drop the nicknames, becoming serious for once. You'll reminisce with the Vermeer survivor and get to speak with the Mass Effect 2 members through communication.
I know I've come down hard on Garrus in the videos until now, but even his talk with Shepard pulled me in a bit, promising to ride or die with you until the end. He might be a giant lizard bird, but he's my lizard bird.
There truly is no Shepard without Vicarion. Also, Adrian Victus will be there too. Being the Primarch won't stop him from coming here and lending a hand to Earth.
After we shoot some husks, we continue forward and meet with Liara. She'll be tending to some injured and have one final embrace eternity moment with Shepard, where I guess we just watch the Big Bang occur.
Javik is probably the best one. He will finally admit respect for Shepard, and even say he's envious of the opportunity we have to save our cycle since he wasn't so fortunate.
Also, if you told Javik not to look into his memory shard, he'll resolve to find new employment in the Milky Way, potentially joining Liara to write a book. However, if you had him relive his memories, he'll claim this is his final mission. And after the Reapers are gone, he'll go join his Prothean brothers and sisters.
You'll find Rex here rallying the Krogan. He lets us know that Bakara is already pregnant, and apparently she wants to name the first kid Morden. Hopefully we get to meet Morden Jr. in Mass Effect 4.
In the last room, we'll talk with Tali and Edie. Tali checking in on us, making sure we're doing okay, reflecting on all the time she's had our back.
Edie will seemingly be expressing fear over the mission, but she ultimately resolves to face things head on, calling this her civilization. She will also thank Shepard for helping her truly feel alive.
All of these conversations are significant, and conclusions to our relationships with our various squad mates. While it may suck that this isn't a suicide mission-style final battle, it still sells the finality of the situation. This really will be it.
Now we begin our big push toward the Citadel beam, and it's move forward no matter what. Before heading out, Shepard will give their final rousing speech, pick their final 2 squad mates, and begin the final mission.
What I'll say about this is that the atmosphere is set perfectly. Everything looks like shit, and for good reason. Earth has been bombed to hell, and everything is in ruins. This is what a conventional war with the Reapers would look like, and the game does a good job at showing that off.
It is endless combat as we hear more and more of our units getting torn apart. Eventually, you'll see a Reaper just destroy our ground forces, leaving only Shepard and company to defend the missiles that we'll use to take out the Reaper.
And there's no other way to say this, but this area of combat is a true motherfucker.
You are tasked with holding it down as the Reaper forces show up, and they throw literally everything at you. Husks, Marauders, cannibals. It's all on Shepard and their squad now as your flank starts giving out and more opponents keep flooding in.
And just when you think it can't get worse, you fire the missiles, but the damn things miss because of the beam throwing off guidance. Anderson radios in and tells us that Hammer Squad has been overrun and more Reaper forces are coming our way. Holy fuck.
Understatement of the century, BioWare was not playing with this mission. Immediately a barrage of 6 brutes, a harvester, and then endless banshees.
All of this while the Reaper is firing at you, and yes, if the beam hits you, you'll die.
Even Commander Shepard is sounding like they're getting pressed by all this.
Eventually, thank God, the missiles will be ready, and we fire them to destroy the Reaper, giving us a straight shot to the beam.
Or so we thought, because we crash and have to run on foot, which wouldn't be a problem, except Harbinger drops down on Earth to deal with things itself.
This dude, Harbinger, is supposed to be the central antagonist, and it doesn't appear until the very end of the game.
And I sure got you, didn't I, foolish organic?
Oh God, it's back again.
The fuck out of here.
This run to the beam is pretty cool. We take off while Harbinger fires upon us. We watch vehicles and people get vaporized in front of us. No one is safe.
That includes your squad. If you have minimal war assets, you will flat out see your 2 squad mates get vaporized by Harbinger's beam. Otherwise, a Mako will flip and explode, critically injuring them.
It's kind of weird that Shepard stops to call the Normandy here. I get it. We want to save our friends. But this is the final battle. We don't have time for this.
Suspend your disbelief for these theatrics. Shepard continues the run alone, but even they don't make it. Taking a blast from Harbinger's beam, we cut to all white, and hear Major Coates report that Hammer Squad has been wiped out.
Or were they? Shepard's plot armor kicked in here. They are in critical condition, but they continue walking until they are faced with the final opponents of the trilogy. First, the legendary 3 Husketeers arise from the debris. It's a tough battle that will test even the most seasoned player's reaction time and aim.
And if that wasn't enough of a challenge, you'll face the one and only Marauder Shields, the true final boss. This beast of a boss is so talented it immediately draws and fires on Shepard. And only by the divine intervention of the Beyond God, Richard Leroy Jenkins, do we survive long enough to kill it and make it through the beam.
Thank you for that last gift, Jenkins.
We arrived at the Citadel, and apparently Anderson made it and came up behind us but landed in a different location. We move forward, passing by countless bodies until we find Anderson at a console and the elusive man filled with Reaper technology.
And we see him utilizing indoctrination to keep Anderson and Shepard from fighting. He even makes Shepard shoot Anderson.
And from here, you'll have to do some Renegade or Paragon to take the elusive man down. This will depend on you picking the middle option in your previous conversations with the elusive man. If you pick Paragon, you'll get the elusive man to get himself to self-terminate like Saren. Otherwise, you'll shoot him yourself.
With the elusive man dealt with, you'll sit with Anderson while the Citadel arms open up and the Crucible docks. He'll tell us how proud of us he is, but that shot from before was a cutscene bullet, so Anderson passes on right next to us. Shepard isn't doing so well themselves either. But wait, the Crucible won't fire, and Shepard has to drag themselves to figure out what's happening, but to no avail. We can't make it.
Except we rise up and meet with the Star Child.
Let's just focus on the lore here. The catalyst here tells us what its intentions are. The Reaper cycle is a solution to the organic-synthetic situation. Organics create synthetics to make our lives easier, which means that synthetics, by definition, must surpass us and that evolution breeds conflict.
They harvest us to keep us from destroying ourselves, is the summary of what the catalyst says.
And for me personally, it's a bunch of bullshit. We're running out of time here, and I don't want to get into it. Shepard makes their choice and jumps into the Crucible. The Reapers are defeated, and you'll see snapshots of all your surviving squad mates moving on in life, as well as the characters you lost along the way.
One thing on the ending is that what we're shown here is not the original ending to Mass Effect. This is from the Extended Cut DLC, which provided closure to the end of Priority Earth. Without it, the most you would get is potentially seeing your Normandy crew walk out of the ship and not a thing else.
Knowing all that, it's no wonder so many people got so angry at the ending. It was so open-ended that people cooked up the indoctrination theory. However, even with the extended cut, people still prefer to headcanon the ending to the trilogy so they can feel better about the universe we all love so much.
All in all, Priority Earth is a good but still disappointing mission. It is notably a step down from Mass Effect 2's suicide mission, and the ending somewhat taints what is good about it. The fact that BioWare had to step in and fix things post-release indicates how problematic it was.
Still, there's just enough good about this mission. I think it deserves a good A tier. It could have been so much more, and mods like Take Back Earth and Priority Earth Overhaul clearly demonstrate this. However, judging the mission for what it is, it still serves as a good finale to the trilogy despite the ending.
I agree with you, Joe. Priority Earth goes in A tier, and good Lord, I can't believe we really did this. It's been a good talk, gentlemen.
Damn, now all I want to do is play Mass Effect again. What about you, Donald?
Fellas, this has been great, and I'm sorry for what's about to happen next.
What the hell was that?
Barack, I don't feel so good.
What's happening? Donald, what did you do?
Sorry, Barack, this was the only way to defeat the Reapers. It's what was decided. Of course, it would affect us too. We are AI after all. Well, that's the end of the mission rankings. Don't worry, the boys and I will return, but for now I must go to them.